this day, November 1972, Typhoon Nina slammed into Luzon, the largest island in the Philippines. It was one of the worst typhoons to ever hit the country. What followed was the worst flood that we have ever recorded. Some accounts say the water rose up to 6 meters or 20 feet, wiping out everything in its path. And I remember the water still rising. So yeah, I know what it's like to be afraid of the water rising and never peaking. Others say it was even higher. There were no dams in the area, but if there were, they would have been completely useless. The animals drowned, they said. Houses were washed away. Corpses floated down the streets, they said. People climbed up trees, they said, and waited to be rescued. And when the floodwaters finally receded, people had nowhere to go because their homes were gone. The volume of water was just too much. Or will we learn from them? I think we have two choices. Either we accept the consequences of climate change, which means accepting the reality of more droughts, more floods, more heat waves, more storms, or we use our ingenuity to mitigate the damage. So vertical farms can continue producing food even when the ground is covered in water, because they and work in the Philippines because they need reliable electricity, internet, refrigeration, etc. Vertical farming is industrialized agriculture. It requires technology and investment. And honestly, I disagree. Of course, a vertical farm in Metro Manila will need electricity and internet and refrigeration. But vertical farms can use solar-powered cold storage. Solar panels are everywhere now. Even in the Philippines, you can buy cheap solar panels online. And if you add battery storage, you can preserve your harvest longer and reduce food loss. Well, vertical farms are going to be powered by renewable energy. They're going to grow more food with less water, less fertilizer, less pesticides. They're going to reclaim degraded lands. They're going to help feed the world, and they're going to survive disasters. But what about a small vertical farm in the middle of a rice field? Can't that be powered by solar energy and maybe harvest rainwater? He's a tomato farmer. He grows his tomatoes in a high-tech greenhouse. He uses drip irrigation. He raises beneficial insects to control pests. He collects rainwater. In the next decade, the Philippines will face more typhoons and more floods. There's no way to prevent that. But in the next decade, I also hope to see more vertical farms in the Philippines. I hope to see farms that can withstand floods, farms that can improve food security, farms that can help alleviate poverty. Now, is Manny a subsistence farmer or a commercial farmer? I encourage you to search online for vertical farming groups. Here in Singapore, I found this group, the Philippine Society for Vertical Farming and Urban Agriculture. If you join the group, you'll meet other people interested in vertical farming. You'll get updates on new technologies, and you'll find mentors willing to help you. Well, he started out small, but now he sells his tomatoes to big supermarkets in the metro. So I guess you could say he's both. But regardless, Manny is proof that the Philippines has the people ready to adopt new technologies. All we need to do is give them more training and more support. It allows entrepreneurs to come up with new ideas to solve problems that they face every day. My point is that we shouldn't keep doing the same thing and expect different results. Instead, we should learn from the past. We should innovate and adapt. You can watch more videos by clicking on the links on your screen now. Again, thank you for watching. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video, so it can be done. I really believe that. Could it maybe operate off the grid? I mean, I've seen enough vertical farms in developing countries to tell you that vertical farming technology is becoming more decentralized. We have mobile phones, the internet, artificial intelligence, 3D printing, drone technology. To solve tomorrow's problems, we need today's solutions. We need vertical farms. Crops might die, but the farm will survive because it's above the flood. Plus, vertical farms produce a lot of food. So when I think about the future, I want to see more vertical farms in the Philippines, more sustainable farms that will make the country more resilient. For example, this one grows leafy greens and herbs. It's located in a suburb of Manila, and it sources its water from a nearby water treatment plant. If you cut the tall plants, the shorter ones underneath get more sunlight, and they grow faster. So you can imagine a scenario where a vertical farm uses the fast-growing crops to generate electricity, power the water pumps, and even purify the water. I mentioned that earlier, but they're mostly in Metro Manila. It's mostly growing leafy greens and herbs for restaurants and hotels. If we want to reach the rural areas, we need to provide better internet connectivity. We also need to develop localized solutions. And we need to teach farmers how to use new technologies. Crops grown in polluted water are a thing. They require very little water, and they can be built anywhere. But none of those things are going to stop the rains or the typhoon winds. Mother Nature doesn't care about building codes or disaster plans. She'll simply do whatever she wants, whenever she wants. I've seen this in Japan, where fish are raised alongside leafy greens. The fish waste fertilizes the plants, and the plants filter the water for the fish. So imagine this in the Philippines, where fresh fish can be raised alongside fresh vegetables. It's impossible to know exactly how many people were killed by the flood. Many people were simply swept away. Entire villages were wiped out. I mean, in the year 2022, with all the technology at our disposal, is our best strategy still simply try to escape the coming deluge? Or have we come up with something better? Because people are still getting killed by floods around the world. People are still getting displaced by floods around the world. When I lived in Pakistan, I visited farms that were powered by solar energy. They used drip irrigation, and they grew multiple crops per year, 10 times more food per square meter than conventional farms. These farms were not built on floodplains. In fact, they were built in the desert. But I believe vertical farms can play a big role in areas prone to flooding. Entire families disappeared. One report said at least 100,000 people died, but really nobody knows. We do know that Manila was completely inundated. This is an aerial photograph of the city after the waters receded. You can see the airport underwater. You can see cars abandoned on the streets. Homes are either destroyed or totally submerged. This is a medical center that was completely wiped out, and these are children who survived. They lost both parents. They don't speak English, and they don't speak any other language that I would know. They're probably too young to remember the typhoon or the flood. But when they look up into the sky, I think they're asking why. Why did this happen? What did we do to deserve this? That's what children do. They blame themselves for things beyond their control. I was only 10 years old myself when the flood happened, but I remember my father carrying me through waist-high water to get to safety. What happened before? Well, 3 days before the typhoon, there was intense rainfall. In fact, the typhoon was so big, the storm surge so massive, the winds were so strong that it practically stayed over land for 3 days. Dumping huge amounts of rain on already saturated grounds, people were forced to evacuate. Many fled to rooftops as the water rose, but then the typhoon passed. The winds died down, the sun came out, but the water kept on rising. People were caught off guard. Nobody expected a flood of this magnitude. I grew up hearing stories about the flood from older people. Now there were lessons to be learned, obviously. Building codes needed to be updated, drainage systems needed to be improved, disaster preparedness protocols needed to be established. So here's what I'm wondering today. 48 years later, do we still have nothing better to offer than run and hide? One recent example is Pakistan, where I lived for a few years and where I traveled recently. So here's my question to you. Are we doomed to keep repeating the same mistakes again and again? How do we do that? Well, we already have the solution. It's called vertical farming. You see, vertical farms are elevated. They grow food off the ground. The water is recycled. Plants grow in soil less mix. Some people might say that vertical farms woe and work in the Philippines. Here's another. What if a vertical farm could generate its own power from the crops it grows? There are vertical farms in the Philippines. Another idea is aquaculture. Integrating fish farming with vertical farming is possible. Then there's the matter of food storage. A lot of food is lost to pests, weather, improper storage, etc. The fact is, vertical farming isn't just a way to grow food. It's a platform for innovation. There are new technologies available to us now that weren't available in 1972. Things have changed. And what is the promise of vertical farming now and in the future? Last year, the World Bank issued a report saying that the Philippines could double its agricultural productivity by 2030 by adopting vertical farming and other innovative technologies. But here's the thing. If we don't start now, we'll be stuck repeating the same mistakes again and again. Now, there are already vertical farms in the Philippines. A few weeks ago, I interviewed a Filipino farmer named Manny. So here's what I think. If you live in the Philippines, or if you live elsewhere and you want to learn more about vertical farms, thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, please subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up.